if you spoke to a man, any man, from anywhere, from the most violent areas of the country or the world, or the safest areas of the world, there's one sure way to cause physical violence. Now, should it cause physical violence? That's a whole different conversation. But there's one sure way that you're gonna get it. How? Have one man talk to another man as if he's not a man. Emasculate him. Attempt to embarrass him in front of others. Now, you can do that in private and still have physical violence. It's still very likely. But if you want to escalate the odds, do it in front of other people. Because at that point, you're not just doing your little insult. You're trying to show other people that he's not the man that he says he is, or that they think he is, or that even you think he is. The underlying threat of violence, that's what keeps all men in line. If you look at it from a country standpoint, you have nuclear weapons. They're not there to use. They're there to prevent other people from getting bold and stepping out of line. So back to the men, very few men don't know this. And the ones who don't should have been taught it a long time ago. In the world of sports, it has gotten so out of control with people insulting other men, grown men, that you see it online all the time, but you don't get to see it in person. People calling other people trash. People calling someone a bust. People saying this person sucks. You can say that stuff, but would you say it to them in person? And a lot of people say, yeah, I would. I don't think so, because I know men. The ones who would are very, 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 very stupid, because they don't understand what they're saying and what they're doing and how they're presenting it is very dangerous. It can get you hurt, right, wrong, or indifferent. There's a guy named Stephen A. Smith who's made a career off of this. I've mentioned this before. His goal, he works for ESPN, but he really works for the owners of football and basketball teams, mainly basketball. And his job is to devalue those men, call them names. He's made an empire off of it. He's making like $20 million or something ridiculous off of a stand-up comedy routine. The problem is he doesn't realize it's a stand-up comedy routine. And none of the people he talks about agreed to be in his stand-up comedy routine. Those are all men. Now, he starts picking at them when they're boys. And those boys are told, hey, it's not worth it. There's no reason to go pound on this dude, even though he deserves it. Don't curb stomp this guy, even though he deserves it. These are young men, a lot of them with really, really tough upbringings. They're not used to having another man talk to them like that, for the already stated reasons. Stephen A. Smith started it out with the guy named Kwame Brown, or a kid named Kwame Brown, 18, 19 years old, insulting him. Like, as if he were his coach or something like that. So we'll accept that from coaches because we understand that they have good intentions for us in the end. A way that guys can motivate each other is very similar. But again, there has to be two willing participants. If you're going to sit there and make fun of each other, you're probably already friends. It's not going to come from a stranger. So you do this all the time at home. Brothers do it all the time. And even them, a lot of times, will still come to blows. There will be violence when you cross the line. There's a very small, frail, old, bitter man named Skip Bayless. Now, he was never able to play any sports. He's not a very smart person. He started out in Chicago insulting Bulls players, but as far as his rise to fame, he started out opposite of Stephen A. Smith. And they would sit there and they would insult other men, and they had free reign to do so. Nobody did anything about it. And I always wondered, okay, if I was in that seat, how long could I last without outright threatening him? And would he be smart enough to stop before I had to follow through with my threat? I'm not sure. I doubt that he was smart enough, because we learned last week that he's a complete idiot and he's a coward, and he used another man's job as leverage to get that man to not hurt him. Who was that man? Former NFL player, tight end. If you don't know what a tight end is, they are the biggest guys to actually physically catch the ball and even run the ball are going to be the tight end. Shannon Sharpe is a Hall of Famer tight end. So of those super athletes on the offensive side of the ball, he's one of the best who's ever done it. Now, as a man, he's goofy, and he says goofy things. The difference between him and Skip Bayless is he's done those things. So he actually gets more leeway from other athletes because they respect him. You see it all the time with Shaq, Charles, and Kenny on Inside NBA. They're allowed to go a certain distance without response because they're from that fraternity. They're brothers in a sense, so they can tease. They just have to watch how far they go, and before another athlete will step up and say, "All right, that's too much. You went too far." So what happened to Shannon Sharpe was disgusting. It was emasculating.
Still playing at a high level at 45 when you had to stop at 35.
Skip, that's what you do.
That's the point.
That's what you do. Every time I call something into question, I'm jealous.
No.
Skip, I did what I did.
I never said you were jealous of Baker Mayfield.
Skip, I did what I did. You make it seem like I was a bum. I'm in the effing Hall of Fame.
Okay,
I got 3 Super Bowls.
So what?
So what?
He's way better than you were.
I'm better than you.
Better.
Skip, what I got to see what you do? You take personal shots.
No, I don't take personal shots. You started it.
Time out. You would take a personal shot at me.
I didn't take a personal shot at you.
Wait a minute.
What are you talking about?
You would take a personal...
Put your glasses back on. Put your glasses back on. Put your glasses back on. Put your glasses back on.
He outright humiliated a super athlete, Hall of Fame legend of the game of football. And why did he do that? Over his opinion. I've seen Skip Bayless do nothing but disrespect players for the last 15 years or so. But when Shannon Sharpe did it to somebody he liked, he wanted to go to war and insult him. Now, there's no way Skip Bayless would ever talk to a Shannon Sharpe outside of his job like that. And there's these little nerds who came up in school and they were bullied and made fun of, and they had zero athletic ability. As they get older, a lot of them will end up in a corporate position where they can say crazy things to people at work. And then the person at work has to decide, okay, am I losing my job today and hurting this person? Or am I just going to suck it up, get the check, go home? Shannon Sharpe chose the latter. I don't know why Shannon Sharpe chose the latter, because Shannon Sharpe is very comfortable in his life. He's made millions and millions of dollars. And I don't think there's a need for him to be doing what he's doing. The problem is all athletes, especially in football, they retire early. So they look for a calling outside of what made them great men and what made them successful men. And he chose to be in commentary. Now, I don't like him, but it's for different reasons. Like I said, he's goofy, and he has favorites. I prefer the objective analyst who breaks down the game and says how other athletes can be better. I don't like when people bash athletes, especially supreme athletes who are the elite of the elite. It bothers me because those men are in the top less than 1% in the world at what they do, and you're saying they suck, or you're putting them down, or when athletes will put, or when these guys will put down an athlete in order to bring another one up. The most famous is saying Michael Jordan played against plumbers. It's like, okay, yeah, plumbers, okay. Skip Bayless humiliated Shannon Sharpe because Shannon Sharpe said that Tom Brady was having a bad year. Now, I've never seen Skip Bayless go to bat for anyone else.
Put your glasses back on.
Can I finish? You're willing to take a personal shot at me to say this man is better than me because I say he's playing bad this year?
Well, because you just
Go ahead.
you disrespect him. It's just so. You know what? It's beneath your
you
dignity.
You disrespect me to support him.
No, well, I'll support him over anybody because he's the greatest player who ever played your game, and it's by far.
Have at it.
Okay,
Take off, bro.
I'm going to have at it.
And I think the worst part about it is there's a racial element to that. And I'm not a guy who jumps to race on stuff, but you've never and will never see Skip Bayless defend a black man the way he was defending Tom Brady. All he does is insult black men.
And so it's just this whole thing of like, you know, you saw Russ the other day check Skip Bayless, like Russell Westbrook. Like that man's name is Westbrook. Like, that man has children. That man has a family. That's a family name. You're talking about Russell Westbrook. Again, people just run off talking and think they don't have to stand on that. You got to stand on them words, man. Your words mean something. You got to be willing to stand on that. And so that's like my whole thing with the new media. Stand on that. Real media. But calling this man Westbrook, like, what? Who are you?
The positions were only created so a novice could follow the game. Just because you're a power forward, that doesn't make you physical. Just because you're a shooting guard, that don't mean you can jack up threes. That's just
what were
a
you,
position.
Jalen? What were you?
What were you? Did you
What were you?
Did you average 1.4 points as a senior in high school?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so all of that Pistol Pete stuff, Water Pistol Pete Jr.
Okay, well, we'll address that later. We're going to.
Don't ignore that. Did you play junior?
Yeah.
Did you play JV as a junior?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll follow
you. What were you?
Okay.
What were you? What was your position?
I had no position. I have
You
no
were
game.
a point guard.
You can say whatever you want. Skip can say whatever he wants, but Skip, whenever you refer to me, whenever you speak to me, whenever you address me as all-pro Stanford graduate, because those are some accomplishments you can aspire to, you will never accomplish. You have never accomplished anything.
Okay, I'll accept that. I think I've accomplished more in my field than you have in yours, though you're just getting started.
So I'm the top of my field. So I'm all-pro. I'm the best, one of the best 22 players in the NFL. You're going to brush it off, but I don't think you're the best 22 anything in sports and in media and anything. I think you think more of yourself than you actually can, prove. But
okay. Do you think you're better than Darrelle Revis is right now?
In my 24 years of life, I'm better at life than you.
Okay.
So
all right, that's fair.
Let's get down to that.
Let's not get personal here. I just want to know.
It's not
personal. Do you think you're better than Darrelle Revis is right now?
I'm better than you. So I have nothing to say about him. I mean, that's pretty much done. My numbers speak for themselves.
Now you want to trash talk me, which is totally cool with me.
Actually, I'm on a campaign to do a lot of community service.
Okay, I know you are at your high school. We're going to talk about that in just a minute.
High school, speaking to high school kids.
What's your goal?
Richard,
what's your motive here?
To be the best NFL corner in.
Okay, but do you want to promote yourself into a bigger name, a household name, so that you can do more commercials and maybe have your own show? Is that your goal?
The first team All-Pro is my goal. I accomplished it. So now it's on to bigger and better things. Those are my goals. Those are always going to be my goals. Fine. That is perfectly fine because I understand that. I am intelligent enough capable enough to understand that you are ignorant, pompous, egotistical, cretin. And that's really what it comes down to. And I'm going to crush you on here in front of everybody because I'm tired of hearing about it.
I think you're having a problem crushing me because you've avoided every question that we've asked you about why you're engaging in so much trash talk with Revis and Roddy and all the others.
I'm talking to you right now. This isn't about any of them. Because you're not listening. You're not actually paying attention.
That's all I can do.
What you said
every day.
Earlier today was apparent. It was obvious that you didn't watch the season. You didn't watch my tape. You said I'm not even in the same class, the same discussion.
You're not.
That's when you lose credibility. That's when you lose credibility.
No, I don't.
Because
I gain it.
You couldn't argue valid points to prove that. You couldn't argue anything. You could just say it. That's an opinion, and that's why your opinion is discredited because there's no facts behind it. There are facts to everything I say.
And when he does talk about a white man, it's nothing like how he talks about black men.
Teams that needed a quarterback last night passed on Johnny Manziel, starting with the Houston Texans, who will forever regret passing on Johnny Manziel. And in a minute, I will go right down the list of teams that will forever regret passing on Johnny Manziel, who pretty soon will change football life in Cleveland, Ohio. One day, I am predicting, Johnny Manziel will become even bigger in the city of Cleveland than his buddy and business partner LeBron James ever was in the city of Cleveland.
He doesn't rename them. He doesn't go after their contracts and say they're not worth money that isn't even his. He doesn't do that to white guys. He just doesn't. So to see him take the biggest, strongest, baddest black dude in the room and humiliate him like that on purpose, because when given a chance to stop, course correct, he didn't. He doubled down, tripled down. There's a racial element to that. That's really disturbing, to put that black man in his place on national TV in front of the world. And I don't like it.
He helped off of Leonard to stop the penetration.
Okay, but he goes out and runs into Ginobili.
He stopped. That's a help and recover play.
Okay.
He stopped him, but his man is Kawhi Leonard.
Okay, I'm with you on that.
Okay, so
but they run together. He runs into Ginobili.
But he's just
okay. But don't give me this. Ginobili's going like this. Ginobili's protecting himself too. They run together.
He prevented him from making any play on the shooter.
He's not trying to make a play on the shooter. He's making a play. He's stopping Ginobili from going to the hole.
No, the play is
he's ultimately guarding. He has left his man. He is guarding. He's stopping the drive.
I participated in this kind of defense for 10 years in the NBA.
I've watched it for 30 years.
Help and recover. He wasn't guarding Ginobili. He was
stopping Ginobili.
He was helping to, till he picks up the penetration and gets to the next part of it is. When he passes it, you recover to the shooter.
There's no pick play. Ginobili's not trying to pick him. They run into each other. They run in. Ginobili puts his arms up to stop himself.
Very next step is going to be to step and extend on the shooter.
For me, that would warrant me losing my job. Because he said he was better than you. What are we, on the playground? And Shannon's like, whoa, what are you doing? Why are you coming at me because I said this guy is having a bad year? You can't say that about Tom. He's the greatest who's ever done it. He's better than you've ever been.
Playing at a high level at 45 when you had to stop at 35.
That's what I'm in the effing Hall of Fame.
Okay,
I got 3 Super Bowls.
So what?
So what?
He's way better than you were.
I'm better than you.
Better.
Skip, what did I got to see what you do? You take personal shots.
No, I don't take personal shots. You started it.
Time out. You would take a personal shot at me.
I didn't take a personal shot at you.
Wait a minute.
What are you talking about?
You would take a personal...
Put your glasses back on.
Can I finish? You're willing to take a personal shot at me to say this man is better than me because I say he's playing bad this year?
Well, because you
Go ahead.
You disrespect him. It's just so. You know what? It's beneath your dignity.
You would disrespect me to support him.
No, well, I'll support him over anybody because he's the greatest player who ever played your game, and it's by far.
Now, Skip's always been upset when people bring up the fact that he sucks at life, and especially in athletics. He's never been good. So if Shannon Sharpe, elite athlete, brother was also an elite athlete. So he comes from a lineage of elite athletes. if he can't talk about Tom Brady because he wasn't as good as Tom Brady, who the hell can Skip Bayless talk about? But he makes the point. It's not about my sports past. I should be able to talk about and critique and analyze and do journalism based on my credentials and my studies. Are you more studied than Shannon Sharpe? I've heard you call players bums. I've heard you call players scrubs. I've heard you rename players Westbrook and stick with those names. And I believe the only reason you didn't get hurt and the only reason you were brave enough to say what you were saying to Shannon Sharpe, I believe the only reason you would be man enough to do that is because you knew that he wanted that job. He doesn't need the job, but you know he wanted the job, and that would be the last day he worked. So in a sense, he showed he was the bigger man, but I lost respect for him because he didn't have to let you go. He shouldn't have let you go. You didn't just insult him once, you insulted him multiple times, and you wouldn't stop. And that's the point where most men will say, okay, I warned you once. He was damn near begging you to stop. And you didn't. He's like, yo, whoa, you really gonna insult me because I said Tom Brady isn't having a good year? Yes, I'm doing it. So you double down on stupid. In animalistic terms, you started doing this. Instead of saying, yeah, okay, maybe I should have phrased it differently. You're my friend. Instead of doing that, you started insulting him more. You can't talk about him. That's Tom Brady. He's better than you'll ever be. And he's practically begging you, hey, you're really doing this right now on TV in front of every man who's ever watched this show. They're going to see it even if they don't watch the show. I saw it. I don't watch the show. But it came up on a reel saying Skip Bayless emasculates Shannon Sharpe. And I'm like, no way. There's no way Shannon Sharpe's going to allow that. He did. Now, I don't know what their future looks like. There should not be a future unless Skip comes out on national TV and apologizes, which he would say he's not gonna do because he meant what he said. And he's that guy. He's that kid in high school. I'm not apologizing for anything. Okay, well, I gotta see you at 3 o'clock. And you give him a chance at 3 o'clock. I'm not gonna apologize because he's never been smacked in the mouth. He doesn't know what it feels like to be punched in the face. All he's done to make his career is talk. Shannon Sharpe, straighten that man out. He humiliated you on national TV. Millions of people are going to see that. And it's not about pride. It's about the fact that he was willing to disrespect you to the point where you had to make the decision. And you were nice to him. He wasn't nice to you. He humiliated you. He may as well have called you boy. Put them glasses on. He may as well have said, get that bass out of your voice. To a super athlete, a little scrawny, nothing, crackhead guy, get that bass out your voice. He needed to be checked and you didn't do it, and it's really sad. That's some Terry Crews. That's some Terry Crews type of stuff. You let him take away something. You let him take away respect. Because he showed you none. And you thought you were friends. No. You're only there so he has somebody to argue with. And he made you look like a fool. And it's disgusting. I can't say that word enough. A long time ago, Jim Everett was on Rome, and Jim Everett told him, practically begged him, hey, don't call me Chris. And Rome wouldn't stop calling him Chris, which was a female tennis player.
You know, because you've been talking like this behind my back for a long time.
But now I said it right here.
Right, exactly.
Well, we got no problems
then. I think that you probably won't say it again.
I bet I do.
Okay.
Chris?
To this day, they say it wasn't a stunt, so I'm going to say it wasn't a stunt. Jim Everett jumped over the table. You shouldn't let another man do that to you. He should have been smacked in the face. At the bare minimum, he should have been backhanded. But you showed, I'll give you credit, you showed restraint, but you shouldn't have. Absolutely not.